The Los Angeles Clippers have a new logo, new jerseys, a new brand identity. Look, it would be hard to be worse than the team's current set of uniforms and logos, which are some of the most boring, plain, and uninspired in all of the NBA, all of sports for that matter. That being said, it is 2024, and this is not exactly a golden era for brand identities in sports. It feels like anytime a team does something new, it's almost universally worse off than what they had previously. Now, this isn't always the case. There have been some good changes in recent times. The Los Angeles Chargers have done a good job sort of updating their brand identity, but by and large, there are a lot of misses. I'm thinking about the Minnesota Twins' latest rebrand. You have whatever the Atlanta Hawks and Minnesota Timberwolves are trying to accomplish these days. The NBA, the basketball world in particular, has been pretty brutal. I go back to the Kings and whatever they're trying to do, and it just, nothing really lands, nothing really works. Everything just feels too out of place. It's not modern, it's not classic, it does not anything. So when I first saw the Los Angeles Clippers had announced a new logo, new uniforms, all that good stuff, I was, well, expecting to be disappointed, expecting to be underwhelmed if I'm being honest, especially considering what the Clippers unleashed upon to the world more than a decade ago. That rebrand, the first sort of changing of the logos and all of that stuff, it was a major step back for the Clippers. Say what you will about those uniforms and logos from the 2000s and early 2010s. I know they're associated with Donald Sterling, and that's obviously not ideal, but I think there's something about them to a lot of basketball fans. Even though it represented really some of the most terrible teams imaginable, there's still just something that everyone identified with. That brings us to the here and now, the new look Los Angeles Clippers. Well, not technically new look. It won't go into effect until next season when they're playing in their new home of the Intuit Dome. I'm just going to come out and say it. These kind of kick ass. In an era where I previously mentioned where so many teams get their look wrong, I think the Clippers have really done a great job capturing some of the previous stuff that made the franchise get finally going back into what a Clipper is. That's been one of the big things when it comes to the Los Angeles Clippers look. They haven't really ever embraced what exactly the Clipper is, the whole nautical theme, the ship theme, and they've done that here. It's far from perfect. I feel like the logo is a bit clunky with the front facing ship. It's not always a good look, and I think, again, there are better logos in the NBA, but in terms of what the Los Angeles Clippers do, this is 120, 150, 200, a million times better than what they've been rocking recently. The jerseys that we have seen too, I think, are actually quite good. They retain some of the classic Clipper charm that I think a lot of people, especially in my age group, remember, but they're a bit more modernized, they're a bit sleeker. It just feels more lively though. It feels like there's more to it. It's weird that they somehow feel like a little more timeless than what the Clippers have right now. It feels like this is a Clipper look that has existed for some time. My favorite thing with the uniforms, though, has to be the nautical flag sort of as the side paneling on the jersey. That has been one of the coolest things the Clippers have done, and why they don't always embrace this or haven't always embraced this in their past has been a bit of a bummer. But to see those nautical flags back on some of the jerseys, at least on the side paneling, again, a really great nod to what a Clipper is. The only real complaint I have about the entire set, the whole rebranding that the Los Angeles Clippers have done, has to be the color scheme here. They've really gone all in on a navy blue. It's navy blue, red, white, and then they have a lighter shade of blue mixed in there as well. The issue you see is that it is eerily reminiscent of what the Washington Wizards are doing, except whereas the dominant color in the Clippers palette is that navy blue, the dominant color for the Wizards is obviously red and white. However, when you look at the Clippers jersey, the white jersey and the red jersey, it does feel a little Wizards-esque in terms of the color scheme. It's not a deal breaker by any means, but it's one of those things where you're kind of like, maybe they could have done a little more to differentiate themselves. But again, though, it's definitely a step in the right direction. We've also seen one court that the Clippers will use in the Intuit Dome. It looks like it's going to be their primary court, and I think it's, again, pretty good. You know, in an era where you're seeing a lot more bells and whistles when it comes to NBA courts, this is very simple, very clean. It is to me, it has a very timeless look to it. It's sort of like how the Brooklyn Nets, when they came into the league, even though they had a huge rebranding, everything felt in place and everything felt like it had existed for some time. To me, that's kind of what the Clippers have done here with their rebranding, is that they've really leaned into a timeless look, a look that can be theirs not just for the next decade, but for the next 30, 40 years. That's something the Brooklyn Nets did really well too. At the end of the day, you kind of just have to say kudos to the Clippers here for doing something good, doing something that, really is a very rare positive when it comes to NBA logos, jerseys, and the like. There's no doubt there are a few things the Clippers could have done a little better. But overall, I think this is a really good look. It's really some much needed sanity in the NBA in all of sports as it goes into these rebrands, which almost always are just universally disappointing. I am quite frankly shocked that I am not disappointed by with what the Clippers did here. So hats off to Steve Ballmer, who they even mentioned, in the article Zach Lowe wrote for ESPN, there's talk about changing the name, going wild with it, all of that stuff. And it would have been easy to have done so. Of course, that's not what the fans wanted. So for Steve Ballmer to actually give the fans very much what they want, to give Clipper fans something that they can be proud of, I salute him for doing that. There's obviously no doubt, Nike execs were probably pushing for wild stuff, crazy stuff, that whole thing. That is their MO, and so be it. But Ballmer, though, to his credit, did not get caught up in all of that. He had a vision, he listened to the fans, he got their feedback, and has delivered a rebrand I think Clippers fans should definitely be proud of. But I think just overall, when you look at the artistic landscape of the NBA, this is very much a positive addition. As a Sacramento Kings fan, this is actually something I wish the team would do to, pay tribute, pay homage to the past without going over the top, without just making it ridiculous, the reducto ad absurdum. If you look at some of the Kings jerseys in recent times, it's supposed to be a tribute to the past, but they just do so in such an absurd way that you're just like, it's not always terrible, but again, you would just like to see something a little more simpler, a little more cleaner. I also hope this is something that NBA teams see when it comes to uniforms and goes, you know what, maybe we don't need to go wacky or go crazy with it. We can find something that just really hits home with fans and is something that may not be a water cooler topic or whatever the modern equivalent to a water cooler topic is, but just something that really does a good job representing a team, a city, a fan base. So for that, Los Angeles Clippers, you have done a hell of a job. Speaking of the Los Angeles Clippers, if you'd like to know more about when Dominique Wilkins showed up for 25 games in 1994, well, check out the video in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Until next time, I'm Cheyenne Hollis. This is The Touchback, and as always, hashtag take it out to the 25.